Hey, this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva,
Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
and welcome to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back to the latest episode of the Snob OS Show. We want to thank you for your continued support and for tuning in each week. If you want to get some exclusive content and get to watch the show live and early, you can head on over to patreon.com/snoboscast to become a Patreon supporter. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the lowdown where we talk all things Apple. And this week, we are going to be talking about what pretty much everybody else in the tech industry is talking about is Wonderlust, the Apple event that was held on September 12th, which is yesterday at the time of this recording, where Apple announced its latest iPhone 15. We had a couple of other things, hardware that came out as well. We know that we're getting iOS 17 next week, or is it? Yeah, next
It's
week,
next week, the 18th.
the 18th. A couple of small things that they talked about. There's an upgrade to iCloud Plus. I think there are two more bands of storage that are added.
Six terabytes and 12 terabyte tiers.
Okay. That, of course, you can obviously purchase. As I mentioned, iOS 17 is coming out on the 18th. There were a couple of devices that were kind of taken out of the fold that will no longer be supported. I think it was the
iPhone
13
10,
mini.
the iPhone 10,
Mhm.
and the first gen iPhone SE will not be compatible with iOS 17 when it comes out next week.
And wasn't some hardware, wasn't the iPhone 13 mini discontinued? Was
It
there?
was
I thought there was some.
discontinued. Well,
Mhm.
let me not say discontinued. They did not introduce a iPhone 15 mini.
Okay.
I don't even think thinking back, I don't remember
There
them
wasn't a
announcing
14
an
mini.
iPhone 14 mini.
Mm-mm.
So it's safe to say the iPhone mini is no more.
Out. Any of the other kind of smaller topics before we get into the meat and potatoes?
Sure. Um, the iPhone Pro 15 Pro, it's been confirmed that there is 8 gigs of RAM in the iPhone 15 Pro. Apple typically doesn't, typically, Apple has never said how much RAM their phones get. When you look at Android, Google, Samsung, Huawei, all these other ones, they tend to be more spec heavy as
Hmm.
far as memory
What's
and storage
behind
are
the glass?
concerned.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Apple does it too, but they do it in their
They
chips.
don't. Okay.
They
Yeah.
always talk about the nanometers and the this and the that, but Apple stays away from our phone's got 8 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of RAM. They really don't say. They just say new processor and how faster it is. When spec heavy people will say, all right, if I'm buying a computer, I need 8 gigs of RAM, I need a terabyte of storage, or I need 16
Hmm.
gigs of RAM, 32, whatever the case may be. There, you typically find that with Android devices, smartphones, but Apple never really says it. So one of the tech sites did some digging and confirmed that the iPhone 15 Pros, the Pro and the Pro Max, will get 8 gigs of RAM.
Okay, that's new. Other one other thing that was pretty prevalent. I'm sure we'll talk about it throughout the recap of the hardware, but Apple did a bit of a skit as it relates to their sustainability practices with Octavia Spencer, I think Oscar-winning actress Octavia
Mm-hmm.
Spencer, as Mother Nature, and they had all of the usual suspects who work in the sustainability space. Talked about the Series 9 aluminum being carbon neutral. Talked about ways that they are reducing the carbon footprint as it relates to transportation. Talking about product packaging, reducing plastic in that. I think we're down to 78% reduction in carbon footprint. They talked about how they are planning to get all devices to carbon neutral, similar to the Series 9 aluminum Apple Watch. They did a whole little skit. Some people called it cheesy, some people called it cringy. It was kind of corny, but as I've said before, when you're talking about sustainability and these types of things, it can go either one of two ways. You can kind of be kind of corny with it and make it into like a bit, or you can just be really like or equivalent spec heavy, where you talked about, this footprint, that footprint, this emission, this CO2, this percentage,
Well,
and
so
it gets kind of, convoluted. And
well,
I didn't mind
so
it so much.
most people tune in to these Apple events to see the new phones, the new watches, the new AirPods, new computers, new iPads, new monitors, new hardware.
Hmm.
Nobody cares during an Apple event where they're talking
Hmm.
about hardware about sustainability. Not saying it's not important, not saying I don't appreciate Apple putting forth the effort to get carbon neutral, recycling, the whole thing. Another kind of fits is Apple has gotten rid of leather in their
Yes.
products. So no leather bands, no leather cases. They've invented, quotes, air quotes, this new material called fine
Fine
woven
woven.
that takes the place of leather, like I said, with leather cases, the MagSafe accessories, all that stuff's no more leather. So that's again goes to attribute. You can attribute that to Apple's initiative to be better for the earth, right?
Yeah.
So it would have, I think, it would have been better receptive if it was just like a separate YouTube video or
Hmm.
a TV commercial where Apple's talking about their sustainability. But in the middle or at the beginning, taking precious time out of being announcing new hardware, I think that's where people was like, man, next, let's get to the stuff. Let's get to the real stuff.
So my thought on that is typically they do have the VP. I keep forgetting what her name is. She normally does have a segment in all the Apple announcements where she talks about sustainability. And she did that in addition to the skit. And my thought process is I think they added that one because everybody's talking about climate change. It's a big to do. Everybody is on it. But I think the other thing is I think they use it to fill out the announcement because the announcement really only comprised of Apple Watch and iPhone. And when Tim Cook said this is what the announcement was going to include, I was like, okay, so we're only going to have about an hour of this event. I think they use a sustainability piece to basically pad the event to make it a little bit longer. And this was an event that was a hybrid event. Of course, there was some pre recorded stuff, but they did have people in the theater as well. So it's one of those things where it was an interesting addition because, like I said before, they normally have the segment where the VP of the environmental stuff she does do like a 5 minute like spiel about what Apple is doing as it
And 5 minutes
relates
is
to it.
cool. People are
And
okay with five
so,
minutes,
yeah, and I
but
think that was a thing. So my thought process when she came up and did her normal part, I was like, whoa, so we're getting two sustainability things. I thought the skit was kind of like this is replacing what she would normally do, but they did it in conjunction with. So had they done either or, I think people would have been like, we're just fine, whatever. But I think because they did both and they made like a big deal of it, and you got, Octavia Spencer, coming and playing Mother Nature, Tim's acting, and all the other people are like, really getting into their acting vibe type thing. I think it may have been a bridge too far for some of the tech heavy nerds. But I didn't mind it too much. It was just like, okay, this is something different. This is something new. But there was a lot of discourse around it as well. And again,
okay. A couple other real quick, a couple
yep.
other additional notes. Apple did release, they didn't announce it during the Apple event, but they did release a USB-C AirPods Pro. But the twist is you can't just buy the USB-C case. You have to buy a brand new pair of AirPods Pro in order to get the USB-C port that
Mhm.
coincides with what Apple announced at the event. I was kind of bummed about that.
Yeah.
So I probably will not. I'll just wait because, like we mentioned earlier this week, I hardly ever plug up my phone. I hardly ever plug up my AirPods. They're normally MagSafe or QI charging. Um, what do you call
Base.
those things?
The little circle disc base thing.
Yeah, there's a name for them. Pad is the
Yeah.
word. So I normally use those at my nightstand, at my desktop, and everywhere I work. I can just set it up on a pad and it just charges wirelessly. So I'm not really about to spend $250 for a pair of AirPods just to replace my currently functioning just fine
Yeah.
AirPods because they don't have the new port. So I'll be
Yeah.
skipping on that.
Yeah.
And another thing, last thing that I have, another thing I'll be skipping on is what we'll talk about a little bit, soon here is no Apple Watch Ultra colors. It's just the same silver color in the Apple Watch Ultra. I think a
Yeah.
lot of the rumor mill, which is why I don't listen, but I got
Yeah.
suckered in. Everybody
You are
just
hoping,
knew.
wishing, and praying. Yep.
Right. I went against my gut, went against my intuition, and listened to the rumor mill. And the rumor mill was saying we're going to get a titanium or a space gray or a space black Apple Watch Ultra 2 to add to the current, I want to call it aluminum. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but it's a silver Apple Watch Ultra. They announced the Apple Watch Ultra 2, same color. So just
Yeah.
wanted to put that little note in there. And I think that's all I had as far as additional stuff for
Okay.
the Apple event.
All right. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the announcement. And they kicked it off with Apple Watch Series 9. I'm sure at this point, everybody has heard a lot about um, the um, the Series 9. A couple of things to note. It has a new S9 chip. Got some new watch bands, got a new color in pink in the aluminum. We got some improvements on HomePod integration, fast charging. Again, as I mentioned, the aluminum version of the Apple Watch Series 9 is carbon neutral. Got some Siri health updates. Got some new cycling features, brighter screen. Of course, you already know about crash detection. Two of the things that were announced that I were particularly keen on is there's a new gesture for the Apple Watch, and there's also a new position finding for the iPhone. If you notice now on your current iPhone, swipe up, you can ping it, it'll emit a noise. Now it actually gives you direction on where the device is up to, in feet. And it kind of steers you to where it is in case you've lost it. So that's pretty much the high level overview of of Apple Watch Series 9. We kind of went over that fairly quickly because again, all this stuff you can pretty much find on the internet, online. People have talked about it. But I wanted to take a little bit of a different route and talk about some of our favorite features, our least favorite features, those types of things as it relates to the devices. And I guess before we get into yeah, let's go ahead and do the favorite. Let's break it up that way. We'll do Series 9 favorites and then Ultra 2 favorites.
Definitely can appreciate the double tap feature. That is something that's going to be specific to the Apple Watch Series 9 and the Apple Watch Ultra 2, because there is a new chip that enables that feature. So definitely can appreciate that more so that than the precision iPhone finding. I think that'll come in handy if you are trying to find your phone and you've got other people in the house. You don't necessarily want to startle them with your phone making noise just so you can find it, you can use this precision phone finding to get directions. You know, if
Mhm.
you are familiar with Find My and you've got like air tags, or now, you know, we talk about this a little bit later, if you are sharing your location with friends, that feature that helps you arrows and kind of points you and it gives you like a feet distance. And as you get closer, your phone starts to vibrate and it kind of points in the right direction. Um, if it works like that on your watch, finding your phone as it does on your phone, finding your air tags or whatever the case may be, definitely I think people will appreciate that. But those two features are probably the things that stand out the most with the Apple Watch Series 9. A couple other things that I can appreciate that I think are more or less part of Watch OS 10. I
Mhm.
did download the public beta, and there are a bunch of new features once the WatchOS 10 comes out next week. It's definitely a learning curve to relearn how to use your watch. But one of the things that, like I mentioned, I can appreciate is there's a new watch face. It's called, what is this thing called? It's called, let me look it up. um, Everybody's talked about the Snoopy watch face. That's not what I'm talking about. There is a solar, hold on, let's see, a solar analog watch face that's coming in Watch OS 10 that really does a good job of highlighting um the add some sophistication to
Mhm.
the Apple Watch when most people kind of look at it as more of an athletic, more of a health thing. You know, you really have to, in order to make the Apple Watch look like a piece of jewelry,
Watch. Yeah.
right? You have to spend some money and get a nice band. Apple, which I may ask Santa for Christmas. There is a nice metal band, but that's like $400, which is why I haven't
Nice.
bought it. But you know, all that to say, you really got to spend some money in order to make the Apple Watch look more like a timepiece.
Mhm.
But I think this free solar analog watch face really does a good job of making the watch look a little nicer.
Cool. Um, for me, I am very much one of the things that I was like, oh wow, I really like this was the it's called the double tap gesture. And that is what's included. The functionality is capable because of this new S9 chip. And I mentioned earlier when I first saw it, it immediately reminded me of Vision Pro because you control the Vision Pro by doing this like tap feature pinch, more like it's more like a pinch to me kind of gesture. And you know, the Vision Pro does have a crown on it. The Apple Watch has a crown on it, so it's very symmetrical in that respect. And to me, that was probably the biggest takeaway for me. Again, I mentioned I use the ping for the phone all the time because I lose my phone. I don't know where I put it. So the precision finding was something else for me that I was like, yeah, I am with that. So those are my two biggest positives or favorite features from the Series 9. Let's talk a little bit about what we don't necessarily like from the new Series 9.
I really don't have anything outside of the fact that it, really isn't a new design at all. Everything is internal, which again, like I said, with the addition of WatchOS 10, adds new ways to move throughout the watch, gives you different ways to interact. They added smart stacks. They've added new ways to access the control center. So you will have to relearn your watch. So it will kind of feel like a new watch if you do decide to get the Apple Watch Series 9, or if not, once you download WatchOS 10, it'll make it feel like something new to do. Because yeah, I definitely there was a little bit of a learning curve
Mm-hmm.
to learn the watch. So that will, in my opinion, maybe compensate for the fact that there is no new design. I think people have been waiting, present company included, waiting for a new design for the past 2 or 3 generations of Apple Watch, and we're going to still be waiting. So
And
you
I
can take some
co-sign.
silent, yes, so you can take some solace in the
Yeah.
fact that with this new OS, it will feel like a different watch, even though cosmetically speaking, it
Yeah.
ain't.
And I wholeheartedly co-sign. And that kind of actually goes into the wish list aspect of this. I hoped that we got a redesign. Um, I kind of figured we wouldn't, but I still kind of hope we did. So that's kind of, my biggest, you know, takeaway. I don't really not like it. It looks basically, no, not basically, it looks just like my Series 8 that I just got last year, um, with the addition of a new chip that gives you some additional gesturing. So yeah. And as far as wish list, that would be my uh, wish list is a redesign. So maybe when we get to 10, maybe 10 will be like a signifier. We're transitioning. So maybe hopefully I hold out hope we'll get a redesign for the Series 9.
On the flip side, hopefully this could be a bad collateral damage of a completely new Apple Watch for like the 10 or the whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
All these watch bands I've invested all this money in, if they don't fit with this new
Mm.
redesign, I may have to think about my life. I've been spending a whole lot of money, but I have spent
Yeah.
a considerable amount
Yes.
to where if they no longer fit, if a new redesign comes, I may have some thinking to do. Not saying I
Yep.
won't, but it would be kind of sucky to try to figure out what to do with these watch bands if they no longer fit. And I've got like 7 or 8 of them at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah. I got a ton of them. I got a different one now. So yeah, so the Series 9 starts at $399 for GPS and starts at $499 for the GPS and cellular. Do you plan on purchasing a Series 9? Oh, I lost you.
Because I'm muted.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the answer is yes. Definitely looking forward to the double tap feature, and the S9 chip is enough for me to buy another one, especially since I take pretty good care of my watches. Once I sell it, I only be spending like $100 or maybe $200 more for it, which I can swing it. According to the Apple website, the 60% more faster than the S8 chip, learning task 2 times faster, Siri is faster, things like that. So,
Hmm.
in my watch, I appreciate because I use it a lot, so there are times to where it kind of I'm waiting on it to respond to my movements in order to do some functions. Like I use it to control my TV a lot because I have Apple TV. I use
Hmm.
the remote app on my watch, and it kind of stutters when I do that. Again, I mentioned earlier on the show DTNS that the walkie-talkie function is crap.
Very
So
much
I'm
so.
hoping with this new S9 chip, the walkie-talkie functionality is smoother and to where I'll use it more. So definitely, I will. That to me, that feature, the double tap and the S9 chip, is worth spending the extra money to get one. Even though I currently have the Series 8, which works just fine.
Yep. And I said earlier when we were on DTNS that I did not think that I was going to purchase one. Now I'm not so sure because I really like the double tap. And I do plan on getting a Vision Pro when they come out. So I don't know. It's a question mark for me. And also, let me just say, I just realized that my mic was not in front of me. It was kind of off to the side. So I'm not sure. You'll
Much
probably
better.
notice
You
a
sound much
much
better.
better
Yeah, less echo.
sound.
Well, it was fine. It was just
Oh,
echo.
okay.
And I
Oh,
thought
okay.
maybe because you got, changed positions or something like that. But Sound much better
Okay.
now.
Oh, okay, yeah. My mic was literally just kind of pushed over to the side, and I just looked over and I was like, "Wait a minute, my mic is not in front of me." But yeah, so yeah, as for me, I'm on the fence. I'm not sure. I am questioning my decision from just yesterday, but I don't know. Time will tell. I'm not sure. All right. Next for Apple Watch, we have a new Ultra. It's called Ultra 2. As Terrance mentioned before, not a change in color or design. It looks exactly the same. Um, it does have the S9 chip. It does have the new gesturing. Um, it is carbon neutral. Battery life is 36 hours. Can still dive with it. The screen is brighter. It has better precision on the GPS. And if you know, with the Ultra, it gives you more metrics as far as what you're doing on your display. It's not, again, because it's meant for, to me, outdoorsy type of activity. So again, many of the same things that were on the Series 9, it's coming on the Ultra 2. You got some new band colors, but that is about it. I'm trying to scan through to see if there's anything that I missed. The precision finding for the iPhone, same. Again, is very similar in what this chip can do. Um, that we mentioned for the Series 9. You have that now on the Ultra 2.
Right.
Uh,
Couple other things. It's brighter. It
mhm,
automatically switches to the quote unquote night mode, which I think in the Apple Watch Ultra 1, you had to either set that as a permanent watch face with that amber color,
mhm.
or you had to maybe click the action button to turn on that color. Now it automatically does that. It switches to that amber color um, for better viewing at night.
All right. So same questions. Anything that you like, especially on this, that differs from the Series 9?
I would say the action button. We'll talk about that a little bit later. It would be nice to see what all customizations I could do with the Apple Watch Ultra 2 action button.
Mhm,
But other than that, that's about it. I've been back and forth about whether to get an Apple Watch Ultra because of the larger watch,
mhm,
but it is larger, it is bulkier. I would have sprung for it, like I mentioned, if it had added a darker color to it or just more variety.
yeah,
I may have sprung for it. But since not, and the action button now, I got more options as it relates
yeah,
to that. So I think I'm going to stick with the Series 9 and just bump up, like I mentioned before, and get the stainless steel version. It gives me a little bit more rugged durability as far as scratches, scuffs, things like that.
yeah. Same for me. I was never really sold on the Ultra 2 because, again, the screen is super large. And again, it's for outdoorsy folks. It's very rugged. It's not something that I would be able to wear as my everyday watch. So I don't really have, you know, I'm fairly neutral on the Ultra 2. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's just not for me. For people who are the outdoorsy type, they seem to really love the size of it.
I've seen a lot
The
of people
screen.
with it on
Mhm.
that are not outdoorsy. I'm like, you can definitely tell the
Mhm.
difference in the watch, which
Mhm.
now, Apple Watches are so ubiquitous. Um, Everybody looks like they got the same watch on.
Yeah.
Versus this Apple Watch 2, you'd be like, "Oh, okay, that's something different." And for
Yeah.
those people who are looking to stand out, I could definitely see them springing for the Apple Watch Ultra 2 because it
Mhm.
definitely stands out on your wrist,
Yeah.
whether that's a good thing or bad thing.
Yeah, because it is very large. And then I think the orange action button, it just really kind of makes it really pop. So yeah. Um, any wish? Well, I think you covered your wish list. You wish it had a different color. And had it had a different color, you probably would have gone
Probably would
for.
have sprung for it, but just doing a quick search on Apple's website, I'm
Mhm.
gonna have to go back and look and see if this is the case on the Series 9. But, the double tap feature, I'm trying to go back through real quick. It won't be available when next Friday when the Apple Watch shifts. We have to ships rather. We have to wait until October to have that feature
For the
available.
gesturing?
Yep, yep, for the
Huh.
double tap. So
Huh.
that'd be a little bit of a bummer. But I
Yeah, no need
mean,
for buy it. No.
October is next week is September 22nd, third week of September.
Yeah.
I guess you could wait a week, but I'm curious as to why the double tap feature is available in October when the watch comes out third week in September.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe they're still doing some fine tuning and tweaking. Not sure. But I'm not sure what a
Hopefully it
couple of
works.
weeks will make. Yeah. What
Just
a couple of weeks will
hopefully it
make.
works as described because if it doesn't,
Bummer.
yeah, yeah, I'll definitely be bummed about it if it's not as responsive as it is in the presentation.
As it appears. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So I did not know about the October thing. So I'm definitely not in a rush to buy it now. So I'll just wait and see how it works when people get it before I go out and buy it. All right, that is going to wrap it up for the Apple Watch portion of the announcement. Let's go ahead and jump into the main event of the Apple announcement, iPhone 15. So we have call, I guess, standard iPhone 15, iPhone 15 Plus, and then of course you have the Pro line with the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max versions. So yeah, so for the iPhone 15 and the 15 Plus, got some new cameras, got a 4K cinematic mode, um, it has now this like machine learning capability to make sure your portraits look tip top condition. Ultra wide camera. The I think the biggest thing from the iPhone 14 and the 14 Pro line is the dynamic island. So now the dynamic island has come to the iPhone 15 and the iPhone Plus line. And I think one of the other big things is the silence kind of switch that's on the side of the iPhone has now been changed to a button, which is an action mode, which allows you to basically customize what you want that button to do. It still holds your, whether you want to silence it or not. I think you have to press and hold, or is it double tap? I think it's press and hold the to get the silence, to get the volume control, and you get like a little haptic kind of like tap back on your finger, and then I think the screen kind of jiggles that indicates that you're, whether you're silent or whether you're not. But outside of that, this action mode button allows you to kind of toggle through and change what you want that action button to do. The other
So,
thing, oh,
real quick, a heads up, that action button is only on the 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max. The mute switch is still there on the 15 and the 15 Plus. So if you want that action button, you're gonna have to spring for the Pro and the Pro Max. And
huh.
but again, I think the jury is still out on whether or not on the 15 Pro and the Pro Max, if you press and hold the button, it'll toggle between mute or toggle between silent and ringer on versus you just clicking the button and being able to customize the button. I don't know if that's the case. I think
I
you may.
think I think
I,
I saw when he did the announcement, when he pressed it, he said you get a haptic tap back when you go into the silent mode. We
Okay.
can definitely double check that. But I'm looking at the notes from the event, and I thought the action mode it
Nope.
lists the action mode on there.
Nope. They use the action button as a way to differentiate between the 15 and the 15 Pros.
So why on this graphic does it say the action mode is there? Interesting. Maybe the graphic is wrong.
It could
Maybe.
be. Could be. Another thing, real quick. All the 15s get the dynamic island,
Yep.
which enables you to get, at a glance information, quickly control music, see, live activities. Also come to the dynamic more live activities come to the dynamic island, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I'm looking through. This is very interesting why this graphic has it and doesn't. Anywho, yeah, because there has to be a way to differentiate between the two. That's very
Yeah, a couple
interesting.
other differentiators. The iPhone 15, which is different, better, let's say better than the iPhone 14, is the 48 megapixel main camera on the back of the iPhone 15, which wasn't the case on the 14. Also, the 12 megapixel two times zoom telephoto lens. That's something a little bit better than the previous year. The base model for the iPhone 15 has a 128 gigs, which before the base model was I can't remember what the base model was, but they've stepped it up to 128 gig as the base model. And they've also kept it the same price as the iPhone 14. So you get all these extra features with the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Plus at the last year's price.
Right. And also colors. There are new colors for the I call it standard just to differentiate between the pro or not. But the iPhone 15 and the 15 Plus, you get like a pink, a yellow, a green, like a mint green, a sky blue, and a black. These are very light. They remind me of like Easter colors that you can choose from on this latest iPhone 15 and Plus. Additionally, a lot of conversation USB-C has come to iPhone, so they have the USB-C connector, no more Lightning for the iPhone 15 line. Um Again, as Terrance mentioned, same pricing as the previous phone, the 14, which is, I want to say a lot of the rumors were talking about, oh, it's going to be so much more. Apple is keeping the pricing the same, not only for the standard line, but also for the pro line as well. We'll get to that next. So with that being said, anything that really caught your eye for the 15 or 15 Pro that you liked?
One of the cool features in the camera, I never really care all that much about the cameras, but I thought it was cool because I always forget to do it, is I actually created a shortcut that will enable me to do this. But now with the iPhone 15 or 15 Pro, I won't have to automatically run a shortcut or figure out how to do this, which is being able to take a picture of a person and not have to ahead of time select portrait mode. With portrait mode, it puts the person in the foreground and it kind of blurs everything in the background, right? But previous to that, you'd had to have actually selected portrait mode in order for that, in order to get that feature. Now with the iPhone 15 and the 15 Pro, it intelligently via, I want to say, I'll just say intelligently, it intelligently recognizes that there is a person in the foreground, and then it does its best to blur the background. And then what's another cool feature was if you want to go in and change the focus, you can go in and intensify the blur, or you can change where the portrait mode focuses on. So if you got two people and you want the focus mode to highlight another person, you can go back and do that after the fact. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's something I'll definitely play around with a little bit more, being able to automatically know that the phone is doing a portrait mode and also change how I want the focus mode to be, or portrait mode to be rather.
Gotcha. And a little, I guess, go back when I mentioned action button is action mode, not button, that is now included on the iPhone 15, the iPhone 15 Plus. Action mode, not action button. So when you're filming anything that is moving, running, you now have that mode where it gives you that stabilization where your picture or your
Oh,
image
that's
is
what you were
clearer.
talking about.
Yep,
Gotcha.
yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Mm.
As for me, um, I like that the dynamic island has come to the 15 and the 15 plus. Um, in the previous iteration, that was a differentiator between the 13 and the 14. Um, for the pro line, and now we're up to the differentiator between 14 and 15. You get the you get the you get the dynamic mode, that dynamic island now, which I really enjoy. I like that. I use the dynamic island a lot. And that was one of my favorite features when the iPhone 14 got announced. So I'm glad it's actually coming to iPhone 15
Yep.
and 15 plus. Um, anything that you didn't particularly care for?
So with the advent of the USB-C port,
Hmm.
Apple has discontinued a couple of accessories. Mainly the one I actually currently have is the MagSafe Duo. Basically, what the MagSafe Duo is a, I call it a travel um, charger, to where you have MagSafe on one side, and the other side you have the ability to charge the your Apple Watch. They
Hmm.
have discontinued that because now USB-C is the main port on the iPhone. My guess is they're going to relaunch that accessory as a USB-C device and basically just discontinue to the Lightning version. Doesn't mean it's not going to work, because it
Hmm.
still has MagSafe, iPhone 15, iPhone 15 Pro, Pro Max, all that. They still have the wireless charging. The MagSafe charging is what Apple calls it. But
Hmm.
you will no longer, as of right now, be able to purchase the MagSafe Duo charger on Apple's website until they relaunch it as a USB-C device. So
Oh,
I
okay,
thought that was
gotcha.
interesting. And there's something else. I can't remember what the other device is, but something else is Lightning that they
So it
kick.
basically just pulled it instead of changing the port now.
Yeah, I'm assuming. I mean, I'm assuming they're going to relaunch it, but we don't know right now. All we know
Right.
is they discontinued it, and discontinued it so much so to where you can't even buy it on Apple's website no more. Maybe that's how Apple rolls. Some places, some brands, when you
Mhm,
discontinue a product, you can still buy it, but it's
mhm.
cheaper while quantities last,
Once it's
so on and
gone, it's
so forth.
gone.
Apple's like, nope, remove it
We
like it never
done.
existed.
Donezo. All right. Anything you wish you would have seen on this iteration that you didn't see?
Reverse charging. I'm gonna keep saying that until it come out, with the
Until they give
ability.
it to you.
Right now, what you can do now
Yeah.
that the USB-C is on the iPhone, you can now charge your AirPods using your phone with the USB-C port. So you can plug your AirPods up to your phone and it charge it that way. You just can't sit it on the back and
Yeah.
it automatically charge, which I would do that. I'm not carrying around another cable. I'll take that back. I may carry a cable, a Lightning to USB-C, because, like I mentioned at the top, I'm not buying a new pair of AirPods just to get
Yeah.
USB-C. I may, depending on where I am, I may carry maybe a tiny cable, a Lightning to
Mhm.
USB-C, to be able to charge my AirPods while I'm on the go, but we'll
Mm.
see.
Yeah, because I know, I washed my AirPods Pro, by accident, and I got them back working, but the only thing that didn't work when I got them back is the lightning port. Now you can use Apple Watch charger. So that's how I charge mine. So I don't even use a cable. I just use my Apple Watch because that's already kind of set up. I just pop them on there and charge it from there. So yeah, so I think the USB aspect is definitely going to change things quite a bit for the way we use them. Are you purchasing an iPhone or iPhone Plus?
No.
Neither am I. I'm definitely a pro girl for sure. All right. I think that is it for iPhone and iPhone Plus. Again, they start at the iPhone 15 starts at $799. The Plus starts at $899. And you can order it starting on Friday for shipping, pre-order on Friday, and it's available on the 22nd. All right. The Pro line. So iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max was announced in titanium. So this is giving you a different material that the actual phone has
Enclosure, the casing.
enclosure, the casing around
Mhm.
it. One of the other things they mentioned, the way that this phone is built is supposed to make it easier, and easier is what's the word I'm looking for?
Operative.
No, subjective,
Okay.
because easy is a word that can be thrown out, but it's easier. It's still pretty difficult to fix an iPhone, but the way that they've built
Oh,
it
the
is
repairability.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically three distinctive parts: the back, the glass, and the frame in the middle. So they did like a little graphic where it shows like the three pieces apart. So with the titanium itself, it has four colors. It's like, to me, it's like a gunmetal kind of color,
Mhm.
a black, a silver. Both of the it's supposed to be like a titanium white. They look the same almost to me. There's a slight gradient difference, but the colors of them, they look pretty much the same to me. And to me,
Yeah, there's a titanium black, titanium uh,
midnight. Oh,
white. There's a
mhm,
titanium blue, and then there's a titanium
natural.
neutral.
Yeah, I think, is
There's
it
a
natural
black,
or neutral?
yeah,
Yeah.
which to me, I guess that kind of looks gold, maybe sand, a
It looks,
sand
yeah,
color.
like it looks like gunmetal to me. It's very like in the in between almost, right? It's not like either or. To me, the colors look sad. They don't look like, I always get the gold because I like the way the gold looks. And it's like a distinctive color. Outside of the black and the blue, the other two, they aren't very distinctive colors. So I wish the coloring was better, but we'll get to that when the likes and dislikes. USB-C charger with USB 3. Um, this is where the
So,
action mode is. Wait,
so that's the USB 3 is important because this is not found on the iPhone 15 or 15 Plus. The USB C with the USB 3, which is Thunderbolt, for those who are, Mac heads, the Thunderbolt cable enables faster, higher data transmission speeds, so much so that you can now connect an external drive to the
right,
iPhone, take pictures, do video, and put those pictures, that content directly onto an external drive. Like if you're taking the 48 megapixel raw photos, and if you're recording 4K 30 frames per second video, trying to record that onto your iPhone, you had to have a terabyte worth of space, or you'd have to actively move those pictures off onto your computer via AirDrop. However, that takes a long time when you're trying to do that wirelessly. Now with this quote unquote, I'm gonna call it a Thunderbolt port on the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. That enables you to, like I mentioned, connect a external drive, take the pictures, they go directly to the hard drive, saves you time and saves you space.
yep. And again, like you said, the keyword is Thunderbolt. And anybody who knows what the Thunderbolt port is, that's on your studio display. That's on any of your high res displays that you can get from Apple, and honestly, you know, any other high resolution displays as well. But the chip A17 Pro, um, it has the next generation portraits that we mentioned before. That's kind of like the machine learning. You snap a picture, but you were going to have this algorithm to make it better for you. It has a 5 times telephoto on the Pro Max only. All day battery life, of course, always on display. What?
Oh, nothing. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you had injection. Wi-Fi 6E and Thread. I don't think they really talked about that in the announcement, if I'm remembering. I'm looking at kind of like the breakdown graphic that they put up. I don't remember them talking about that very much in the announcement itself. Spatial video, which again, as I mentioned before, during this announcements, there were a lot of tie-ins to the Vision Pro. And again, Tim mentioned during the announcement that they are on track to launch the Vision Pro at the beginning of the year, as they announced at the spring announcement when the Vision Pro was announced. So it's definitely a bunch of tie-ins um, to Vision Pro with these devices. Um, they did a whole gaming thing for those who do mobile gaming. Yay. You get some upgrades on that. Sorry for the mobile gamers, that's not really my jam, but there was a significant upgrade, and they did spend, they carved out time for that during the announcement. And again, the action button, as I incorrectly stated on the iPhone 15 and the Plus, it is on the Pro line, the Pro and the Pro Max. Again, you can customize this action button to do different things, whether it's to take a photo, translate, alerts. You can basically change it and customize it to do whatever it is that you want it to do, in addition to the silence. I think we said we're going to check that to make sure, but I want to say that that button still does the silencing as well. So that is high level for iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. Anything else you wanted to call out on the functionality or for the Pro line?
The titanium material makes the phone lighter. My iPhone 14 Pro Max is pretty heavy. So much so, like today, I had on some sweatpants and my front pockets was full. So I stuck my iPhone 14 Pro Max into my back pocket and
Mhm.
quickly realized that I have to actually use the drawstring and tie and tie it up because it was making me pull it. My phone was pulling down my pants. So I'm definitely looking forward to if the titanium casing makes the phone lighter. I
Mm,
actually like the titanium colors. I think they look more pro to me. The
mhm.
titan even the white
The white?
titanium and the neutral titanium. I like I like the look because it does, to me, gives you more of a pro feel. In
Mhm.
addition to that, according to Apple, less fingerprints on the titanium versus the I'm gonna say I want to call this s- glass steel, the framing of the 14, very fingerprint prone on the sides and on the back. So
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to the titanium being less fingerprint heavy and a little bit more durable. I'm not sure what they mean by strength. Just overall hoping it'll be more durable. And finally, I'm looking forward to see how customizable the action button is. I did a quick cursory search, and the action button does, if you press and hold, toggles between silent and vibrate, or
Mm-hmm.
between silent and ringer on. But if you press and hold the button, I'm sorry, let me to make sure I get it straight.
Yeah, yeah. The long press
Sleep
is
and ringer.
right.
The quick button press will give you the ability to customize it. And like I mentioned before, I'm more and more and more getting into shortcuts and automations. So I'm interested to see what I can cook up being
Mm-hmm.
able to press a button and see how in depth I can get as far as automations and shortcuts are concerned.
Yeah, and, again, I did the same thing you did. You do get a haptic feedback for the long press, for the silent and the ring mode, and you do get a visual cue, so the screen does do something to indicate that, yes, you are silent or you're in ring mode. Um, I wanted to say shoot, what was it? I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, um I kind of saw it in passing. I didn't really look too much into it, but of course, Apple announcement, it takes up a lot of tech space, and some of course, the Samsung people are like, the way that you can it looks like on the screen, you can, like, if you are trying to customize it, how it says you can switch between what you want the action button to do. It looks like it's something on the screen where you can kind of swipe through, kind of like a carousel to
Mhm.
to decide
In the
what
settings.
you yeah, in the settings of what you want the button to do. So
Mhm.
I think if they can, instead of having to go to the settings, maybe it's too much to put in the button, to, like, actually change it on the fly, that
I
would, to
don't
me.
know. I wanna say no. I think you will have to go into the settings. Now the visualization
Mhm.
of how you can change the action button will probably look pretty cool, but that'll be in the settings. I don't know if
Yeah,
you'll be able to do it on the fly,
from the
really
button.
quick and change it.
Yeah, yeah. That would be cool if they could do that, but, I digress. It's only so much a little button can do. Again, um, favorites. I think you did mention you liked the colors
The
and the
titanium
titanium
casing will be the
itself.
thing I'm looking forward to the most.
Okay. For me, I don't have really anything that I guess jumps out for me on the 15. I think what'll be interesting, because like I said, I did mention that I will be getting the Vision Pro when it comes out.
Mhm.
That's my only thought process of, maybe the 15 will be beneficial, because I think the way that they've set up the chip for the 15 and some of the guts of the phone itself, I think they are prepping, these devices, this last jump, the Series 9, even the Ultra 2 and the Pro line, they are setting it up to work fairly seamlessly, even though the ecosystem, hardware works really well together. I think they are setting these devices up to be the perfect companion to Vision Pro. So that's, for me, maybe the biggest kind of positive, even though I'm not even 100% sure that's the case. It just appears that that may be, where they're going with this latest iteration of the Pro line for iPhone 15. So
Alright.
that's, I guess that would kind of be a favorite-ish type of thing. And then just depending on what it looks like when we get closer to getting the pros, what this will ultimately look like.
And
Least
so, not to beat a dead horse,
uh-huh.
but we may be wrong on the action button.
Uh-oh.
On the Apple website, it says, and I'll just quote Apple,
Mhm.
"The all-new action button is a fast track to your favorite feature. Once you set the one you want, the one being the favorite feature,
Mhm.
just press and hold to launch the action. And in the rundown, it has, if you select silent mode, it says by default, the action button is set to toggle between ring and silent modes. If you choose a different action, you can use Control Center to mute or use focus filters to automatically set your phone to silent. So to me,
Mm.
that sounds like it's either or.
It's
It's
one it's one of the options. The silence
by
is one of the
default,
options you can use.
it's silent or ring.
Mm.
If you switch it off of silent and ring, you can change it to all these different things.
Mm.
But if you change it to all these different things,
You
according
lose
to
the
Apple,
silent
right,
ring.
you'll have to swipe down to get the control center and then either press a button for the focus and one of your
Mhm.
focus modes is silent, or you just drop down on the control center, drag down on the volume. Once you take it all the way to low, it'll automatically go silent,
Interesting. Hmm.
which is lame if you ask me. I
That's
like it the
very
way I
lame.
think it's supposed to work. If you
That's
press and
very
hold
lame.
the button, it'll ring and silent. But if I just quickly tap it, it'll do the action, which
Yeah.
hopefully they'll be able to do that. And since it is a haptic feedback slash not a hard button,
Mhm.
hopefully Apple will be able to take my
Yeah.
feedback and make it
Yeah.
so to where you press it versus because there's other things you can do. There are buttons like smart home buttons. I think
Mhm.
Logitech makes one to where if you tap it, it does something, but if you press and hold, it does something else. If you tap it 2 times, it could do something else. I don't see no reason why Apple couldn't do that, where
Yeah.
you click it, it does something. If you press and hold, it does something else. If you tap it 2 times, it does something else. If you swipe it, it does something else. I don't see why Apple can't do that.
I'm kind of disappointed in that now. And so you get the haptics and the visual cues, but it's only when the action mode is set to the default of the ring or
Once you set
silent
it.
options.
Yep.
That's lame.
Mhm.
Boo, tomato, tomato, tomato. Um uh then that's my least favorite feature then.
But on the flip side, imagine being able to press that button and automatically get into selfie mode. Think of
Yeah.
all the steps you have to take a selfie.
Yeah.
You could customize that button to be able to click it and it automatically open the camera, turn it on selfie mode to where all you got to do, hold your camera up and then click that button again and actually take a
Mhm.
picture. So that's 2 taps and you'll be able to take a selfie.
And my thing is, like I said before, for the action button itself, it wouldn't be static for me. It would be dynamic. I would change what the action does depending on the situation. Using your example of doing a selfie. If I'm at a concert or if I'm at an event, I may set it to
Mhm.
the photo. If I'm traveling and I know I'm
Mhm.
going to be in a place where I'm not going to have easy access to English, I may
Mhm.
set the action button to the translate
Mhm.
um, feature. So for me, the action button never really was a static thing. For me, in my mind, when I envision using it, it would be dynamic and change. But that was under the same assumption that, the whole press and hold for the ring thing was you could do both of those. But for me, I always have my phone on silent anyway. I never have it on ring because the sounds and the notifications, those things annoy me. So
Well, there you
it
go. The
so it's
action
never
button may make it give you a little
yeah,
bit, more functionality without
yeah,
having to swap back and forth.
yeah, yeah. So yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of waffling on it, but it could be all right. It could be all right. Wish list. Anything outside of the reverse charging that you wish came uh with the Pro Max?
No. I can't think of it outside of that. Uh, nope. Can't think of anything.
Yeah. For me, I would like a gold.
Oh, right,
titanium
right,
color, an actual gold, not a sand,
right.
not a in between, but an actual gold. Um, that's what I wish it had.
Alright.
Um, Purchasing. Are you planning on purchasing an iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max?
Yes, same reason for the Apple Watch. I take good care of my phones, and I know how to sell them to get top dollar. So,
Mhm.
once the dust settles or the titanium settles, I'll only be out a couple $100.
Nice. I do not believe that I will be purchasing a Pro because the Pro Max is just too large. I think I mentioned before we knew what the iPhone 15 was going to be. I mentioned that I may get one because I am in the market to get um, a travel phone. Um, on like T-Mobile because I think they probably have the best because I'm on AT&T. They probably have the
Oh, yeah,
best
okay,
for
okay. So you're
traveling.
not getting a
So,
travel phone to have 2 phones. You're getting a travel phone to be on a different carrier when you travel.
yes,
Can't you
correct.
do that? Can't you, dual SIM? Because they got the eSIMs now. You can program your main phone number to the eSIM, and then when you wanna travel, you can still jam a SIM in there or, have a totally different carrier for 2 eSIMs, and
You
and
can
it'll
see. I
travel.
didn't think. I thought it had to be the same carrier.
Nope.
Maybe I need to look into it. I thought the whole point. I thought it had to be the same
If
carrier.
you Well, it depends on how you buy it. If you're buying it on T-Mobile, they're going to lock it to T-Mobile.
Mm,
If you buy the phone cash money outright,
mm,
no installment plans, no up pay as
mm,
you upgrade. Like if you go drop down 11, $1,200, they will ask you what carrier are you on,
mm.
but then you have the option to go to a totally different carrier, get a
Hmm.
second line, and eSIM it, or a let me see. Nope, not on the 14s and the 15s, but you can dual SIM via electronic SIM, 2
Huh.
totally different carriers, 2 totally different numbers.
Huh.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll look into that. But yeah, that was really the only reason. And then, like I said before, the way that it looks like this may be shaping up for the interaction with the Vision Pro, that may be the only reason. But I'm not like in a rush to pre-order it on Friday and get it on the 22nd. It would definitely I need to see what the Vision Pro is giving
How
before
do
I
you
decide on anything else.
I can visually grasp how the Vision Pro will work with the Apple Watch with the
The
having a
pinch.
sensor on your watch to be
Mhm.
able to do how do you envision the Vision Pro to work with the iPhone?
So the only I think for me it's on the what is it? The spatial video. I'm
Ah, right, got you.
So that's probably the biggest thing, and my thought process is once we actually get the Vision Pro and once they I think they actually settle on some things on how the Vision Pro works, I think there may be some upgrades to the OS that take into account um, some of the functionality of how they work together. So
Alright.
that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's still kind of buzzing around to kind of see how it would work because again, you have sensors, you have a level because if you have your phone and you're walking with it, it can like track your steps or if those types of things, but I'm just not sure how sensitive it would be for, you know, how that works with the phone. Like, I'm not sure if you have the Vision Pro on, you getting a phone call or you getting a FaceTime, could you take it in the Vision Pro from your phone? So it's kind of like those things that are kind of like I'm not quite sure how they'll gel together. So that's why I'm like, let me kind of hold off to see what is actually feasible with the 14 and what's feasible or what's not going to be feasible with the 14
Mhm.
as opposed to the 15. So that's
Uh,
kind of where I am.
alright, real quick, I think we didn't mention this, But they did mention with the 14 and the 15, whether it be 15, 14 regular, 14 or 15 plus, or the Pro or the Pro Maxes, they do add the feature to add roadside assistance via the satellite SOS feature. So previously, you'd be stuck somewhere, you need SOS, you point the satellite, they do the relay, yada, yada, yada. Well, if you're just driving and you blow a tire or you leak antifreeze or whatever the case may be, you don't have to queue up the emergency SOS if you ain't technically in an emergency. Because when you think
Mhm.
emergency SOS, it's like, I'm running out of water, it's
I'm
cold,
hanging off a cliff.
I'm about to die. Right? I
Right.
can see people trying to use that function the same way people do 911. They call
Yeah.
911. It's like, my neighbor's getting on my nerves, right? That ain't
Yeah.
emergency, right?
Right.
So what they've done is they've added roadside assistance to where if you are stranded, like your car ran out of gas, you can use emergency SOS, especially in an area to where there's no cellular connectivity. Think of an interstate, think of a country road, whatever the case may be. Blow a tire, you can use the emergency SOS to call up roadside assistance, and that is they're doing it in conjunction with AAA. So if you are currently a AAA member, that'll be included in your plan. If you're not a AAA member and you want to take advantage of that, you can buy that via the emergency SOS feature.
Services, that's where they're getting the money from. All right. Again, as we mentioned before, the pricing is in line with the Pro model from iPhone 14. The Pro is starting at 99 with 128 gigabits of storage. The Pro Max starts at basically $1,200 with the base of 256 gigabytes of data
Well,
storage.
you may have to double check that because I think both the 15 Pro and the Pro Max come with 256 gigs versus the 15 and the 15 plus come with 128. Again,
I'm looking at the graphic
no,
and it
you're right.
says, yeah,
Nope, I'm lying because as soon as I said that, I scrolled down and you do get the option to select 128 gigs on the Pro. And
yeah.
then with the Pro
But
Max,
the Pro Max, the
it
baseline
automatically
is
jumps to
256.
256.
Yep, yep. And again, pre-order is this Friday, the 15th. Um, and availability is on the 22nd of September.
Yep. And my tip, let me just get it in now. My tip for the week is you can go on Apple's website, pick out your options for your 15 or 15 Pro now, and you can save it to your quote unquote queue. And then when it actually comes time to pre-order on Friday, whether it be 5 o'clock California time or 8 o'clock Eastern time, you can just quickly go to that queue and just complete the process. So you can get in the first in line versus having to wait. If you wait too long, your
You get it, your
shipment will
shit
push you
date
back.
gets pushed back. Yep.
Yeah. So that's my tip. Go if
That's
you're
your
going to
tech
purchase
tip of the
one.
week.
Yep. Yep. If you're going to purchase one, go ahead and go through and set it up now and then queue it up for later.
And with that being said, no second string this week, no further culture this week because we have been talking all Wonderlust. That is going to wrap up the show for this week. Brother Tech, where can the people find you?
Sure, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva on all of the places. Again, that's going to wrap up the show for this week. We definitely want to thank you for tuning in, to connect, to comment, to share, and to support our show. You can head on over to snubwestcast.com to get all the details. Definitely hit us up and let us know if you plan to purchase any of the items from the Wonderlust event. That is going to do it for us this week. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Peace.